Hi, you're watching Teen Kids News. I'm Luke. We're all very excited to be part of a very special anniversary. This is our 20th season on the air. More on that later in the program. But now, let's go to our top story. The term GOAT, greatest of all time, has become popular in the world of sports. In the run-up to the 2020 Olympics, gymnast Simone Biles was universally hailed as the GOAT. And over the years, a herd of celebrated sports figures have been honored with that title. Football quarterback Tom Brady, basketball's Michael Jordan, track star Jaqueline Joyner-Kersee, swimmer Michael Phelps, the list goes on. But long before athletes were crowned with GOAT status, there was one athlete who was simply called the greatest.
His name was Muhammad Ali. Born Cassius Clay Jr., he changed his name when he was 22 years old.
He's a famous boxer, Muslim boxer.
He was a boxer, I'm pretty sure. He was famous. That's all I know.
He was a boxer.
If Ali were just a boxer, he'd no doubt still be famous. But he wouldn't be one of the most influential athletes of all times. Ali was so much more than a man who earned his living in the ring. He was a fighter for good causes like civil rights and social justice. He was also a philanthropist. That word describes people who do good things, like making big donations to worthy causes. For example, Ali supported the Special Olympics and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Putting aside his boxing gloves, Ali would personally deliver medical supplies and food to countries ranging from Mexico to Morocco. In 2005, he was honored with America's highest civilian award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
His deep commitment to equal justice and peace has touched people around the world. The United States honors Muhammad Ali for his lifetime of achievement and for his principled service to mankind.
Speaking from the heart, the most recognized person on the planet said, "I've always wanted to be more than just a boxer, more than just the 3-time heavyweight champion. I wanted to use my fame and this face that everyone knows so well to help uplift and inspire people around the world." He uplifted and inspired in so many ways. He was a published poet and, surprisingly, a 2-time Grammy nominee. His first nomination was for his comedy album, I Am the Greatest. It was written to poke fun at his upcoming match against boxer Sonny Liston.
He's great. He's got speed and endurance. But if you sign to fight him, increase your insurance.
The second Grammy nomination was for the recording he dropped to help young kids brush up on their dental health.
Ice cream like what you might get in this store has a lot of sugar in it. That's one of the major things Mr. Tooth Decay delights in.
A homespun philosopher, Ali delighted in sharing his observations on life. For example, don't count the days, make the days count. Perhaps his most famous quote was his description of his fighting style. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Sadly, the man who embodied the phrase poetry in motion was struck with Parkinson's disease, a brain disorder that affects one's motion. But Ali wasn't one to throw in the towel. Joining Back to the Future star Michael J. Fox, Ali used his fame and stature to call attention to Parkinson's. He didn't just raise awareness, he raised money. Thanks to him, the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center was built in Phoenix, Arizona. Ali died in 2016 and was buried in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. But even the headstone on his grave is inspiring. Words for all of us to live by. When Teen Kids News returns, we'll visit a place where you can get up close and personal with this amazing man. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Teen Kids News. I'm continuing my report on one of the most influential athletes in history, three-time heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali. We're going to meet some of the people who are working hard to keep his legacy alive.
Welcome to Fighter's Heaven, formerly Deer Lake, my father's training camp where he trained for some of his most important battles in and out of the ring.
The grounds are made up of 17 buildings. He had a kitchen and he had a gym built. He also had a building where his family would stay. He had cabins built for his staff, overnight guests, and last but not least, he had a mosque built here for his prayer, worship, and meditation. The camp was purchased in 2016 by Mike Madden, who is a huge Muhammad Ali fan, and he decided to restore it for people to come and see and experience what it was like while Muhammad Ali trained here. Throughout the grounds, there are boulders with the names of people who were important in his world, played a significant part in his world. They're mostly boxers.
Ali designed the entire camp and was particularly proud of his cabin. It replicates how one of his heroes, Jack Johnson, had lived in the late 1800s. Johnson is famous for breaking boxing's color barrier. In 1908, he became the first African-American world heavyweight champion.
It was very basic, very primitive and Spartan-like. There was no electricity or running water in this building at the time of the very beginning of the camp.
It's hard to imagine one of the richest athletes in the world sitting in his rocking chair, maybe reading a book by a dim lamplight in a cabin heated by an old-fashioned stove.
He felt he was losing his edge and he was getting too soft, living in beautiful hotel rooms and suites down in Miami of Florida. So he decided to come up here and build this camp and train for the last part of his career.
No, come right in. It's just like the days of Jack Johnson.
Throughout the buildings here, we have videos that play. In this building here, the Ali Cabin, there's a video of him being interviewed by Dick Cavett. Now we're in the kitchen, and what you can see around me are some weed boxes and some Gatorade bottles that were put out in honoring Muhammad Ali and his career.
But hands down, the highlight of the museum is the gym. The boxing ring is a replica and is a bit smaller than the original ring.
I have memories of watching my father train, which today keep me every time I feel like I can't. I just remember him working till he couldn't anymore, and I get my own inner strength from those wonderful memories.
The gym now is set up as more of a museum feel. On the walls, you'll see collections of photos that show what the camp was like while he was here training. On the far wall are a collection of fight posters that were made throughout his boxing career. And as I'm walking forward more, over in this area here, you'll see the platform, and the platform is the original platform. So Muhammad Ali would work out on this platform as people were sitting in folding metal chairs, and he would hit the heavy bag, he would jump rope, and there were a couple speed bags on both sides of the gym.
Celebrities ranging from Michael Jackson to living presidents and the Beatles all were in this very room we're standing in right now.
One thing that really stands out, and I hear from many people here, is how he took the time to talk to people. And literally there are many stories where he would be training in the ring and he would see a youngster, a young kid in the audience, and he would stop his workout, he would stop his sparring session and joke around and have fun with the kid. And there's also many stories of him just sitting down with people and asking them about their family, their lives, and how things are going with them.
I told you, I'm the real champion. I told you, I'm the champion of the world.
Muhammad Ali, even though he was a loudmouth kind of cocky person in front of the camera, he was very soft-spoken, humble, mellow. The camp here was free and open to the public then, it's free and open to the public now, and he was very accessible to the public. In fact, people would just walk in literally the door here next to me, sit down in folding metal chairs around us here, and just watch him work out.
And my father had a quote, pretty much went like this. He said, "I hated training every moment of it, but I know if I suffer now, I'll be a champion forever." So those moments when I feel like I can't, I remember to take those extra steps forward, and I know just like my father, they'll benefit me and I'll have victory in the end.
We have many young people who come here and you say Muhammad Ali to them and quite frankly the answer is who? And we just want to expose them to Muhammad Ali and have them walk away here with an understanding of who Muhammad Ali was, not only in the ring, but outside in the real world.
We've been so blessed that Mike Madden has come in, completely restored Fighter's Heaven back to its original condition. Every single thing I see here, I remember exactly as it was when I was a little girl. So you are experiencing, when you come here, exactly what I did.
Fighter's Heaven is located in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, about 90 miles from Philadelphia. To find out more, visit fightersheaven.com. No question, Muhammad Ali was a great boxer. Some say he was the greatest boxer ever. But he was great for so many other reasons as well. He wasn't just a fighter in the ring. He was also a fighter against racism. So let me leave you with one more quote from this giant of a man. Hating people because of their color is wrong. And it doesn't matter which color does the hating, it's just plain wrong. He was, and is, so right. For Teen Kids News, I'm Ava.
In addition to Pennsylvania's Fighter's Heaven, there is also the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville. This museum has films and exhibits that highlight the 6 core principles that Muhammad Ali tried to live by: confidence, conviction, dedication, giving respect, and spirituality. We still have lots more ahead. Teen Kids News will be right back after this. It's time for Make the Grade. Here's Christin with this week's advice.
Do you have a do list for your schoolwork? I do, and sometimes I think it's going to do me in. Most days, I can only get to the things on the top of the list, which means I never seem to get ahead. Even worse, I often fall behind, so my do list just keeps growing. Along with my frustration. So I'm going to try a time management technique called the catch up, keep up, and get ahead system. This is my catch up stack, things I've fallen behind on. I made a list, but that's not enough. It's too easy to keep pushing off focusing on these items. So I need to make a commitment to set aside time every day to accomplish at least one of these tasks. I'll check them off as I get them done. Ah, that felt good. Next, I do my keep up work, things that I can't let slide. This is where I'll spend most of my time tonight, but I'll save a half an hour or so for my get ahead list. These are items that are not due for a while, but if I can get work done on them now, my keep up pile will stay under control. Not only that, but if I keep working with this system, eventually my catch-up stack should disappear altogether. And good riddance. I'm Christin, here to help you make the grade.
Here's an expression that just about everyone uses and gets wrong. When someone comes across a situation not to their liking, they might say, "Now that's a fine kettle of fish." It conjures up the image of a big kettle filled with fish. Except that's not the actual saying. In Old England, a kittle was a sort of net that was used to catch fish. So the real phrase was, "a fine kittle of fish." I kittle you not. With Wordwise, I'm Veronique.
If you're a new driver, there's a lot to keep in mind. That's why we're bringing you this driving tip from the National Road Safety Foundation.
Hey, what's up, loser?
Bullies.
Get out of the way, nerd.
They're in school.
Get out of the way, nerd.
And they're also on the road.
Come on, let's go, let's go.
Especially when they tailgate. Here, a sudden stop is no big deal. But on the road, tailgating can be deadly. Rear-end collisions cause approximately 2,000 deaths per year. Don't learn by accident. Give yourself a safety cushion.
A message from the Wheeling Park High School SAD chapter and the National Road Safety Foundation.
The NRSF produces lots of helpful videos. To see more of them and for info on driving safety, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the National Road Safety Foundation. Still ahead, we look back. As part of our 20th anniversary of Teen Kids News, we'll stroll down memory lane with another of our former reporters. We'll be right back. News for teens, delivered by teens. That's the mission of Teen Kids News. And we've been doing that for 20 years now. Here's another one of our reporters who's contributed a lot to the program over the years.
A favorite saying here is, much of the history we teach was made by the people we taught.
I'm Tyler. I started with Teen Kids News when I was about 14 years old, and I worked with the show for about 5 years or so. At first, I was a field reporter doing stories near my home in Boston before making some regular appearances on the anchor desk. I was actually watching the show on one of the Boston affiliates that the show airs on, and at the time I was only in 8th grade, but I was already interested in television and storytelling, so that's when I reached out to the producers, actually sent in a demo tape, and before you know it, I was on my first story. I think one story that ended up being both fun and a bit embarrassing for me was a behind-the-scenes tour of the new Yankees Stadium. I mean, I'm from Boston. I felt like a traitor doing that story, but I also didn't want to turn it down because it was such a unique opportunity, and in the end, I'm glad I did it. I think perhaps the best memory for me with Teen Kids News is winning my first Emmy. It was such an honor just to be recognized along with the crew and the producers for a story that I got to work on. So, that was really, and to this day, it's still just such an honor. And I actually still have some of the Emmy nominations from the show still proudly hanging in my office today, right behind me. So after Teen Kids News, I went on to become a professional reporter. I worked at stations in Vermont, in New Hampshire, in Rhode Island, and in Oregon. I really got some great experiences there, and Teen Kids News helped prepare me for all of that, from writing to on-camera presence to video and the way that I craft stories. And even now, after about a decade working professionally in TV news, I've transitioned over to media relations work. I'm a spokesperson for the New Hampshire Department of Safety. It was a lot of fun, and I do miss it. I really miss working with the people, and many of them, of course, went on to become professional TV reporters and journalists like myself. I also miss the producers who frankly became mentors to me over the years as I continued on into my career, and really it was a rewarding experience that I've carried on with me, and I'll forever be grateful.
It's time for another short break, but we'll be right back with more Teen Kids News, so stay with us.
Most people have seen the painting called American Gothic, but few have a clue as to why the picture is called that. The name comes not from the two people standing in the foreground, but from the house half hidden in the background. Okay, I'll explain. Back in 1930, Grant Wood wanted to paint a picture of rural America. Looking for inspiration, he traveled around the small town of Eldon, Iowa. That's where he spotted this little white house with its unusual top window. The pointed arch reflected the Gothic style of architecture, a style you typically see in grand cathedrals from the Middle Ages. Either Grant was amused, or he was touched by a muse. That's a goddess of inspiration from Greek mythology. Anyway, the house captured his fancy. Now he just needed people to stand in front of it. He wanted his mom to be one of the models, but she was too old to stand while he painted. He asked his sister to stand in, but wearing their mother's clothes. For the farmer, Wood recruited his dentist to pose. If you look carefully, you'll see there are other Gothic elements in the painting. For example, the stitches in the farmer's shirt echo the vertical prongs of the pitchfork. One of the most recognized pictures in American art, the painting is often called a cultural icon. And the house itself has also become famous. Now called the American Gothic House, it's listed in the National Register of Historic Places, and it attracts lots of visitors, some who pose for their own personalized souvenir photos. American Gothic is on permanent display at the Art Institute of Chicago. For Art Smart, I'm Katie.
Well, that wraps up our show for this week, but we'll be back with more Teen Kids news next week. See you then.